Fox News. Breaking news.
She came to America as a refugee. She swore an oath to uphold our Constitution, and now Ilhan Omar is facing the fight of her political life as federal investigators close in on what could be the most explosive corruption scandal to ever hit Congress. We're talking about a sitting member of Congress whose family wealth mysteriously exploded from nearly nothing to over $30 million in just a year. We're talking about a fake substance abuse clinic that turned out to be a restaurant. We're talking about a phantom winery that doesn't exist. And yes, we're talking about the marriage fraud allegations that have haunted her for years. Oh yes, the walls are closing in, and this time, there's nowhere to hide. I'm going to tell you why this matters to every single one of you watching right now. It's not just about a corrupt politician in Minnesota. It's about your tax dollars being funneled through fraudulent earmarks to bad actors. It's about the same networks that perpetrated the $9 billion Feeding Our Future fraud in Omar's district, potentially having a direct line into Congress itself. Think about that. While American families struggle to put food on the table, while our veterans go without proper care, Ilhan Omar was reportedly steering $1 million of your money to a so-called substance abuse clinic that was actually a restaurant run by 3 Somali men who all share the same residential address. The IRS paperwork is full of red flags. This is the same playbook we saw with the daycare center fraud, and now House Oversight Chairman James Comer is referring her case to the Ethics Committee because the financial disclosures just don't add up. So how does a husband's company go from being worth $5,000 to $30 million in a single year? Well, something is very, very wrong here, and the American people, well, we deserve answers and justice. And speaking of protecting American interests and rooting out corruption, there is some breaking news on another front that directly impacts our national security. The White House just announced over $30 billion to secure America's critical mineral supply chains and named a specific Alaskan project as a key strategic asset for U.S. mineral independence. Now, I've personally been to the Vizsla copper drilling site in Canada myself. I've seen it with my own eyes. And what's happening right now is bigger than most people realize. President Trump just unveiled Project Vault. It's a $12 billion strategic minerals reserve designed to stockpile essential resources and keep America from being dependent on China for the materials that we need to build everything from electric vehicles to military equipment. While corrupt politicians like Ilhan Omar are allegedly funneling money to fraudulent operations, the Trump administration is investing in real American assets. Vizsla Copper, write this down, trades in the U.S. under VCUFF and in Canada as VCU.V. It's right there on your screen. So check the exclusive briefing. You'll find it linked below. It's only for Next News viewers to learn how this strategic investment could benefit patriots who want to put their money where America's future is. We thank them for supporting this program. Let's get back to the Ilhan Omar investigation because it does get worse for Ilhan. You see, you thought the financial fraud was bad. Here's where the story takes a turn that even Hollywood couldn't write. Multiple sources, including a prominent member of the Minneapolis Somali community, now on record confirming what investigators have suspected for years. Ilhan Omar allegedly married her own biological brother in 2009 to help him obtain legal immigration documents. When the media first surfaced a wedding certificate, Omar went completely silent, refusing to answer any questions. But now witnesses are naming the Christian minister who performed the ceremony. Marriage fraud, immigration fraud, and potentially far worse. This just in, Ilhan Omar caught seeking $1 million in taxpayer dollars for substance abuse clinic that turned out to be a restaurant run by 3 Somali men. Insane, says Jack Unheard. Her request has been ripped out of the funding bill. She had a funding bill and she snuck in $1 million. Oh, it actually happened to be housed in a restaurant. We have some information here. Listen carefully.
Our spending bills making its way through Congress was a $1 million earmark from Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota, which was an earmark that was supposedly going to a substance abuse clinic which actually happened to be housed in a restaurant and run by 3 individuals that share the same residential address, according to their IRS paperwork. Tons of red flags. So this is what we saw with the fraud involving the daycare centers. Now we see other earmarks coming directly from members of Congress where it seems fraud is being perpetrated as well. So I raised the issue, and fortunately, the House has now stripped that earmark out of that spending bill. But again, this is how easy money has been flowing to bad actors in Minnesota.
Think about just how brazen that is. You know, it's one thing when you have all these bad actors and criminals filling out fraudulent Medicare, Medicaid forms and opening up fraudulent daycares, etc. Right? That's one thing. But when the member of Congress just sticks it in a funding bill directly, that's a completely different ballgame. All right? That is brazen, in-your-face fraud. And thankfully, it was stripped from that spending bill. But the walls are closing in because her attempt to funnel taxpayer dollars to a fake clinic has been thwarted. And the pressure is building. Congressman Comer sounding the alarm as the Ethics Committee gears up to investigate her sudden wealth explosion. House Ethics Committee to investigate Ilhan Omar's massive net worth spike. Red flags all over the place. One company on her husband's disclosure went from 1,000 to 5,000 to 1 million to 5 million in a single year. Man, I wish I knew the secret for that. Another jump from 25,000 to 5 million to 30 million. An explosive, unexplained wealth explosion for a sitting member of Congress. Yeah, my only guess is it's all that Somali fraud money just getting laundered right back through her husband's firm, but we'll have to wait for the investigators to get to the bottom of that. Here's Comer.
We've been informed in the last few hours that the Ethics Committee is probably going to have to be the committee that takes that investigation up. I'm disappointed to learn that. We thought that the Oversight Committee could do that. So we're going to be writing a letter in the morning referring this to the Ethics Committee. And it's a simple investigation, Sean. There are 2 companies listed on Omar's husband's financial disclosure form. Both were one was worth between $1,000 and $5,000, and then the very next year it was worth between $1 and $5 million. Another one was worth, I think, $25,000, and the next year was worth between $5 and $30 million, based on the ranges on the financial disclosure form. Either way, those are significant increases in value. We just have questions that any American would have. What type of businesses are these? We know that the Department of Justice in the Biden administration was investigating Omar's husband for reports of fraud. We know there's a winery in question that has a big value on there that some believe isn't worth anything. So there are a lot of questions. This investigation shouldn't take long. She should just willingly come in, she and her husband, and answer these questions. It shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. But thus far, over the last 2 weeks, it's been crickets from Omar.
Yeah, it should take about 15 minutes for her to come up with the excuse as well. The spotlight on Omar intensifies as shocking twist emerges. New allegations surface accusing her of marrying her brother. Yes, of course, we've been talking about this for quite some time. Apparently now confirmed, Ilhan Omar's second husband, Ahmed Elmi, was in fact her brother. Ilhan Omar did in fact marry her brother, stated she would do what she had to do to get him papers to stay in the United States and attend college. When the media turned up a wedding certificate, she went silent, refusing to make any comments and at all, saying she does not talk about her family or personal life. And as you can see on the screen, now arrest the brother effer at once for crimes including marriage fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud, welfare fraud, student loan fraud, perjury, bigamy, incest, kickbacks, campaign finance abuse for defrauding the United States government and U.S. Congress. Christopher Wray covered it all up.
Made a few years ago, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar tried to knock it down by calling it absurd. Then when the media turned up a wedding certificate, Omar went silent, refusing to make any comments at all, saying she does not talk about her family or personal life. Well, now others are talking, like Abdul Hakim Osman, a prominent member of the Minneapolis Somali community, who is now on the record telling the Daily Mail that in 2009, Ilhan Omar married her biological brother, Ahmed Saeed Almi, so that he could legally remain in the U.S. and attend college. At the time, Omar was married to Ahmed Hersey, but it was a religious marriage, meaning there was no Minnesota state record stating that she and Hersey were husband and wife, and so marrying her brother would allow her sibling to get his legal immigration documents. But Mr. Osman isn't just saying that Omar married her biological brother. He also gave the Daily Mail the name of the Christian minister who married them. That minister reportedly says she does not want to be involved or interviewed about Congresswoman Omar.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved. Well, you performed a ceremony, so maybe you're implicated in the crime. Allegations of marriage fraud seem like only the tip of the iceberg as calls grow louder for her arrest. But federal investigators suggest this might be more than just a family affair. Once again, Ilhan Omar has been caught pushing $1 million in taxpayer cash for a fake substance abuse clinic that was a restaurant. And we have Lindell TV. Allison Steinberg on the case.
Congresswoman Omar, you were just talking about how Trump's economy has failed the American people, but I think the American people really want to know how you went from a negative $65,000 before coming into Congress to over $30 million in just 7 years.
My disclosure is public, ma'am.
Yeah, it is. And so a lot of people now are looking into that and finding S. Crew Winery, a winery that doesn't actually seem to exist. Is that a real winery, or?
Do you all actually look at and read things, or do you just ask silly questions?
Well, it's listed in the financial disclosure, so can you explain it? Because we have a lot of questions about it, and things just aren't adding up. There's no real phone number. There's no real location.
Why, did you want to buy some wine?
Probably not from you, to be honest. Recently stated that the American people should be afraid of the white man. They should be fearful of the white man.
I never said that.
Yeah, you're on video saying it.
Our country should be more fearful of white men across our country because they are actually causing most of the deaths within this country. No, I did not.
Yes, you.
Again, this is like what I said. You need to prepare yourself because you can't continue embarrassing yourself like this.
So I'm just a liar.
What I was quoting was an actual study done by the FBI.
Okay, thank you.
Just prepare for next time.
All right, thank you, Congresswoman.
Well done, Allison. Always impressed by her work. With Omar under federal scrutiny, questions about her financial dealings multiply. Steve Ford weighs in, labeling her husband's financial activities as money laundering. Federal investigation.
Fox News alert, Ilhan Omar under investigation after racking up millions while she was in Congress. Senior national correspondent Kevin Cork has it. What's up, Kevin?
Good to see you, my friend. What's the old saying? Follow the money? Well, that's precisely what the House Oversight Committee is doing. They are probing squad member Ilhan Omar's skyrocketing family wealth, Jesse, especially in the wake of that $9 billion, some would argue $19 billion, Somali social services fraud scandal that exploded in her district in Minnesota. The Oversight Chair, James Comer, says his team's lawyers are exploring the extraordinary step of subpoenaing Omar's spouse over his curious business practices. Republicans want to know how the Somali-born Omar and her politically connected husband Tim Minette went from being nearly broke to being worth around $30 million in just a year, according to her 2024 disclosure forms. Quoting Comer now, there are a lot of questions as to how her husband accumulated so much wealth over the past 2 years. It's not possible. It's not. And he's a money guy. Minette and his partner, Will Haler, back in 2022, formed an investment firm, Jesse, named Rose Lake Capital. They had $42 in their bank account at the time, but in a year, up to $25 million, according to Omar's filing. By the way, he also has a wine business that went from next to nothing to millions on its books. Not surprisingly, associates were so perplexed about the irregularities, they brought information and attention to the feds to, look into it. Now, for her part, the congresswoman has repeatedly, and I say defiantly, denied any wrongdoing, while being also careful to criticize the ongoing probe. But, sometimes they say, Jesse, the ones who yell the loudest have the most to hide.
Well, innocent until proven guilty. I'm sure everything was perfectly legal. We're just checking to find out.
Yes,
Kevin, good to see
we certainly are. Here is the marriage license application. Janie Johnson says deportation for committing marriage fraud. Ilhan married her brother. Deport them all. So if you've never seen it, we'll take a closer look at it for you. Here is the marriage license in question. Ahmad Naeed Sayed Elmi, whatever, and full legal name, married to Ilhan Abdullani Omar. Right there. There is the marriage license application. Signed and signed. So, do you need any more evidence? Do I need to keep going? According to Steve Forbes, the chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes, Ilhan Omar and her husband are running a money laundering operation.
That was far-left Congresswoman Ilhan Omar claiming the Justice Department and Congress probing her sudden skyrocketing wealth to $30 million in just 1 year, that they have a problem with her living the American dream. You heard her say the goddamn United States of America. We've got new questions on where she and her husband got all that money. Joining us now, Forbes media chair, editor-in-chief Steve Forbes. Steve, new information coming in, and Forbes magazine, your magazine, has reported this too, that the state of Delaware and Washington, D.C. canceled the registrations for Omar's husband's investment firm, Rose Lake, for not paying its back taxes. We saw it owed more than $400,000 to Delaware and nearly $1,800 to D.C. She's claiming it's worth $25 million from less than $1,000 a year before. How can his investment firm not afford to pay taxes? It's supposedly worth an estimated $75 million to $150 million. This is really weird stuff.
Well, weird is not the word for it. There's another word for it called crooked. And that's why we have to have an investigation into this. As you know, the Biden administration started examining her finances and that of her husband. And so surprise, surprise, that investigation went nowhere. But it's amazing how people can go into Congress and then become these entrepreneurial investing geniuses where they come in. She had under $1,000 of net worth and her husband didn't have much, and suddenly now they're multimillionaires. Is there a money laundering operation here? And in terms of the firms themselves, they have a sketchy background. That winery in California that she and her husband own, where did that come from? Where's the wine there? And nobody can seem to find it. So there's a lot of smelly stuff here, and that's why in the American Dream, her version of the American Dream is the Al Capone version of the American Dream, Tony Soprano version of the American Dream, and that is steal it from the taxpayers. And
yep, a lot of smelly stuff going on underneath that hijab, and I'm going to tell you exactly what's happening here. Steve Forbes, the chairman and editor-in-chief of Forbes magazine, publicly stating that Ilhan Omar and her husband appear to be running a money laundering operation. His investigators found that the husband's investment firm had no record of managing any money, no clients, no deals, nothing. Operates out of a WeWork office and claims to do business with 80 nations with zero security registrations. The Phantom Winery she listed on her disclosures doesn't appear to exist. Forbes said it plainly that $30 million came from sources that are illegal, period. Christopher Wray's FBI covered this up for years, but now, under the Trump administration, accountability is finally coming. The swamp is being forced to look at one of its own, and what they're finding is devastating. So this is why we fight. This is why we elected President Trump to drain the swamp. Ilhan Omar spent years attacking America, calling our country racist, pushing radical policies and all while allegedly running one of the most brazen corruption schemes we've ever seen in Congress. She needs to be the next to resign alongside Swalwell and Gonzalez, and then she needs to face prosecution for every single crime: marriage fraud, tax fraud, immigration fraud, and potentially money laundering. The evidence is piling up, the investigations are multiplying, and the American people, we're watching. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments right now. Should Ilhan Omar be expelled from Congress and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? Yes or no? Drop your answer below and share this video with everyone you know, because the mainstream media won't cover this story. And since you made it to the end of the video, congratulations. Check out the little system we built to bypass the missed notifications that YouTube never sends you and to get us into your own personal algorithm that I control, not YouTube. Text raw feed to 844-840-4963. We just crossed over the 1,500 subscriber mark. It's a big deal. Make sure you check out the Next News merch shelf below this video also and show your support for real journalism. I'm Gary Franchi for the Next News Network. Stay informed and stay free.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.